Hello guys, it's time for a challenge. We will try to recreate the game Red Dead Redemption. This is a popular game with a Western theme. It's known for its good-looking graphics and incredible level of details. We will have a time limit of 1 working day, so 8 hours. That way we need to focus on the basics and don't get distracted by the details. We can make use of existing code or assets, but we will only use free assets. Without further ado, let's start creating the game. We will use RDR2. This high definition render pipeline gives us the best looking game. It makes it unsuitable to play on mobile devices, just like the real Red Dead Redemption. The first hour I spent on creating the terrain. I generated a hilly terrain and smoothed it. I used Unity Terrain HDRP demo scene. That's a free asset with good looking trees and terrain. I also added some ground textures from another free pack. Make sure you have normals files when using ground textures, so your terrain won't look flat. The second hour I spent on adding free models from sites like TurboSquid and Sketchfab. I made only a small part of the map looking really good, because there's not enough time to do all of the terrain. But I wanted to imitate the Red Dead Redemption look as much as possible. The third hour it's time to make the game playable. I've added the third-person controller script from the starter assets pack. I've also added the ability to fire a gun. I spent some extra time trying to make the gun firing look good, because shooting is one of the elements the players get a rush from. So I've added a light flash, shiny sphere and smoke to the gunfire. The fourth hour is spent on creating NPCs and having them move around. I tried to use as much code from old projects as I could, to be efficient. For the buildings I downloaded, I created box colliders so the people cannot run through them. I also added some lighting with a script to make it flicker. In hour number 5 I added the ability to shoot down the NPCs. When they are shot, I use a random animation out of 3 falling animations. For some reason, the falling animations move the player in the air. I had no time to figure out the reason, so I wrote some code to manually adjust their position during falling. Red Dead Redemption is not complete without riding a horse. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any free animated horses anywhere, so I created one myself. I found a good looking horse in Blender Kit. I tried adding bones for the tail, but I find it hard to use Blender and finally gave up on this idea. Without the tail, I rigged the horse in Cascadeur and created a walking animation for it. The problem is that the animation stalls sometimes. I couldn't find the reason, but I expect that there's something wrong with the rig. If you get close enough to the horse script will make sure that the horse mess becomes a child of the player and the player's position is changed and the horse animation is played. In the 7th hour I added HDRP water with the new water system. This actually looks way better than the free water shaders. I also created a waterfall with it, although it has some room for improvement. I still had time to add an Easter egg. I took my avatar and placed one of the NPCs in the game. Therefore, I created a copy of the spawning script that has a limit of only one entity being spawned. The NPCs are always spawned in the vicinity of the player, so you are likely to encounter it. In the final hour, I've added some details like this campfire and a new saloon. Because it's not closed from above, I placed it on a mountain, so you cannot see that when playing. Mark really likes the ragdoll effect that is also in Red Dead Redemption. So I created a ragdoll for the NPCs and activated it instead of the falling animation for some of the NPCs. I placed those NPCs in high positions and put an invisible cube with a box collider behind them, so they fall nicely. Now we will make Mark play the game and he will give his judgment about the final result. There are some glitches that I didn't fix deliberately to see if Mark will notice them. When you shoot a falling player, he moves and can fall through the terrain. Also, the train can drive through the player at the moment. Okay, now it's time to let Mark play the game and see how this goes. He is still trying to figure out the controls, I guess. He's aiming the gun, but he isn't shooting any people yet. Now he tries to run into one of the buildings, but that doesn't work because the inside of the buildings, the interior has not been designed. So I made the buildings all closed and you can't go into them. He has already found out one of the players that uses the ragdoll effect. There is a horse over there, but he doesn't jump on it. Maybe he doesn't know that you can use it to ride on. He found out that you can shoot the players multiple times and that they then disappear into the ground. That small building you can run through because it doesn't have a box collider yet. That could easily be fixed. He is shooting some more people. I guess he likes the shooting part. And he discovered the campfire. He tries to get burned by it, but it doesn't work. It doesn't affect the player at all at the moment. Now he finally has jumped onto the horse and decides to ride the horse. You can see that the animation is stalling. It's working properly when it's not in the game, but as soon as it's used in the game, it's not working anymore. He tries to follow this railroad, probably to see where it will end or if it will bring him to another town, but it actually disappears into a tunnel. That was my solution to create an infinite railroad. Now he encountered the train. He tried to fire at it, but because it doesn't have a collider, he can simply run through it. He tries to ride back. You can see that the water is still too dark. That can also be easily fixed by changing the color and making it more transparent. He also found out this small glitch that when you enter in the horse and jump off of it, that this animation stays a bit too long and it still appears so that you are sitting. Finally, he also discovered my avatar. And what he will do, of course, he will shoot me and keep firing at me aggressively until I disappear under the terrain. He tries to jump onto this train, but it also has only one box collider and not a mesh collider, so you can't jump onto parts of the train. It's one big block and it's too high to jump onto.
Easter egg? A тут еще есть Easter egg.
Ну нет, есть тоже только другое место.
He uses his horse again, because with the horse you can move a little bit faster. And he's now riding to a part
Yeah.
of the terrain that's not really been covered by nature yet. So there's no trees and no ground textures. It's a bit boring,
Тут, кстати, можете
but it
сделать
was just
видео
too much work
топ
to
100
create the
багов.
terrain, which is huge. He moves back to the part that is looking good, back to the village.
О! Давай ректор.
He
А
finds
что
another
будет,
player
если
to shoot at. And he notices a wanted sign over there. It happened to be there by accident. It was part of the model that I've used. Here is a problem that this box collider is probably too big, so he can't run into that alley. But in this one he can.
О, давай. Тут, конечно, миллион багов, но...
He notices another glitch.
Что? Я
This
нашел еще
staircase is
один баг.
also not part of a collider, so you can just walk through it. And he found the other ragdoll NPC. He tries to shoot it through the ground as well, but that doesn't work with this one because it has a rigid body. Over here you can see the final game. It's not quite as detailed as Red Dead Redemption. I simply don't have the time and resources to do that. However, in 8 hours we managed to create a nice base for a cool game. Mark liked the graphics and ragdoll effect. For a future version, he would like to be able to play a mission. He also requested that NPCs can shoot back. I would also love to have a day and night effect in the game and an on-screen map. So this will probably not be the last version of this project. Please let me know in the comments what you would like to see in a new version. Thanks for your attention and take care.